Welcome back to the channel. I'm James Salvatore, and today's going to be a treat because I'm sitting in a 2019 911 GT3 RS. And in today's video, I'm going to go over the specs with you. I'm going to drive it, share my thoughts on it, and then for those of you kind of going between whether or not you should buy a 911 GT3 Touring or a GT3 RS, I'm going to kind of give my thoughts on that as well too. So be sure to stick around. Let's get into the video. For 2019, the 911 GT3 RS featured a naturally aspirated 4-liter flat-six engine with the 7-speed PDK transmission as the only available option. It has 520 horsepower and 346 foot-pounds of torque with carbon ceramic brakes. Seeing that this is the WiseTech package, that means you get extra lightweight saving features like magnesium rims and carbon fiber add-ons throughout the vehicle, as well as a full leather interior with full leather carbon bucket seats. As soon as you start driving the GT3 RS, it makes clear to you right away that this is a track car and it is not meant to really be a road car, but it'll kind of behave if you'll put up with it. Now go with me on this. That's not a bad thing. I absolutely love it because this has such a raw personality to it. You know, you sit down, you sit right into these perfectly shaped carbon fiber bucket seats that hold you perfectly in place. Your seating position is perfectly in line with the wheel. Visibility is great. And you feel everything in the road. Even going a low speed, like we're just on a normal backcountry road going 30 miles an hour, I am feeling every little crevice in the road. And I love it. But what really makes the experience in one of these cars for me, especially if you're not going to track it, it's just the exhaust note that you get out of these. There are just some motors that just sound so special, and this is one of them. This is such a unique sound. This is something that only Porsche really does because nobody else makes a 6-cylinder engine that sounds quite like this. I mean, just take a listen. Oh my God, that just sounds amazing. Now, if we're gonna compare this to the GT3 Touring, I would say really the GT3 Touring, if you're gonna drive them both on the street and you're not somebody who's gonna track your car, the only thing you'll notice is that the GT3 Touring is slightly less stiff, and when I mean slightly, I emphasize that. There's really not too much of a difference. I would say the difference between the two is mostly aesthetic in terms of like what you're gonna notice on the road. I'm sure on the track, if you were to throw a GT3 Touring against a GT3 RS, you would definitely notice the difference, especially with the downforce. But I don't have the opportunity to test these out on the track, so I can only speak from the perspective of somebody who's gonna buy one of these cars to you know, have fun on a good backcountry road, you know, around town on the weekends. And driving it around town, if you just want to be smooth and you don't want to have it, you know, be all jerky and, you know, aggressive, you put the chassis into normal mode, quiet down the exhaust, and put the transmission in automatic mode, and you definitely do notice a difference. The suspension definitely is less stiff, but only by a little bit. You know, it still isn't very forgiving by any means. You have to avoid potholes and, you know, divots in the road at all costs, but it's just a little bit more forgiving. This is definitely not a car I would take on a long trip or a long journey, just because the carbon bucket seats, I would see them getting uncomfortable after long periods of time. There is a bit of adjustability with them to be had, but they're still a very firm seat. Now we're on a backcountry road. Let's have some fun. The feeling you get with how planted and how glued this car is amazing. This is such a visceral experience, and few cars, will give it to you. Wow. You see, with 520 horsepower, this is not the fastest car I've driven by a long stretch. But this is by far the most enjoyable car that I have driven out of all of them. Because here's the thing, this is the perfect amount of power to use on a track, and this is the perfect amount of power to be able to open up on a nice long country road and have a good time. You know, it's not too much. It's just the right amount of power. It really is. I don't think I'd want much more power in this. For those of you who think I fake my reactions in my comment section, yeah, I can promise you I'm not. This car is just such a visceral experience. It's so special. Honestly, these GT3s will really go down. I guarantee it. In 20, 30 years from now, these cars will be, I mean, they're sought after now, but I could just see these skyrocketing in the future. I'm just gonna be quiet for a second and let you enjoy this with me. Oh my God. Wow. Oh, it's like glue. This car is just glued to the road. Such a competent chassis. Oh, and this engine is just straight. It's music to the ears. This is just truly something special. And if you're on the fence between the GT3 Touring and the GT3 RS, honestly, I would say go with the RS, because if you're buying one of these cars, the GT3 Touring really isn't that much more docile. It's not really any better to cruise around town. So you might as well have the car that's all out. And this will not disappoint in any aspect, except for ride comfort if your roads around you are just absolutely horrible. But that's not what this car is about. Porsche has blessed us yet again with the 992 generation with pretty much the same motor. And I thank them for that, because it's just such a special experience to have. And you know, when everything eventually goes electric, yes, it's going to be faster. The performance is going to be off the charts. But what you're not going to feel is that sense of emotion, that sense of connection, that sense of personality that a car like this brings to the table. To sum up my thoughts on the GT3 RS, I'd recommend this for only the pure driving enthusiasts, and you know who you are. Don't be the person who buys one of these just because it looks cool and then complain about the ride quality 5 minutes later. This is an all-out track car. It is not trying to be anything else. This is meant for somebody, and you know who you are, if you're looking to have a true connection with a car, to feel everything in the road, to have just that all-out visceral excitement when you drive. That's what this car brings to the table. And honestly, the feeling that you get driving one of these is just unmatched. Between the presence it has, you know, people come up to you, they compliment you. Just filming this video today, I had probably at least 15, 20 people come up, walk up and ask me questions about the car. Everybody that sees one of these, you know, they know it's something special. Well, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it for you. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on that bell notification so you don't miss out on next week's video. Before we go, I'd like to say a special thanks to my friends down at Porsche of Fairfield, Connecticut for making this video possible. They're an awesome, super helpful, friendly group of people to work with. And if you're in the market for a new Porsche, or if you're looking for a GT3 in particular, be sure to check them out. I'm going to leave their contact information in the description below for you to do so. And with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.